Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Intuitive Angling, and really appreciate you guys checking out today's video and spending some time with me. And guys, today I'm going to be talking about my first tournament that I got next week. It's the Toyota Series tournament up at Lake of the Ozarks. And as of now, the lake's froze over right now. We have had brutal cold temperatures here in Missouri over the past couple weeks, and you can't even get a boat in the water up there right now. Our tournament starts this coming Thursday. Supposed to be practice in the first part of the week. So I want to talk a little bit about this and sort of want to go into my strategy going into this tournament. Cold water tournament. It's not going to get any colder than this. The water temperatures are going to be in the 30s, and sort of give you guys, let you inside my mind a little bit about what I'm thinking and what my plan is for the tournament in relationship to the rest of the season. I think everybody may learn something out of it, what to do or maybe what not to do, depending upon how it turns out. Also, guys, before we get started, just a couple quick things that you probably heard me talking about it, but Tackle Warehouse has got a really big spring fishing sale going on right now. If you guys are wanting to get your spring fishing tackle set up, there's not a better time to do it. I'll put my Tackle Warehouse link in the description. If you guys want to use that link, it's a good way to support the channel. They got like 25% off almost anything on the website there. So I hope you guys can take advantage of that. Really appreciate it. Okay, guys, I'm sort of in the process of slowly preparing, getting my rig and everything ready for the first Toyota Series tournament, Plains Division, up at Lake of the Ozarks this week. And guys, we have had like some brutal weather the last week in Missouri. We got about probably 8 inches of snow here in Springfield, but it has been down like below zero and in the single digits for a week, and everything's froze over here in Missouri. We're supposed to have a warming trend next week, but if you've got, a considerable amount of ice on the lake, and you're not getting a lot of warming temperatures up at night, there could be a lot of ice on the lake in that tournament. There might even be as much ice on the lake you can't even launch the boats in some places. So we'll really have to see how that goes in terms of how warm it's going to get during the week and the wind, how the wind's going to help break it up. But moreover, guys, I sort of wanted to give you guys my approach going into this tournament, sort of how I'm thinking a little bit, how I prepare for situations like this, and maybe you can apply it to your own fishing sometimes. Okay, first of all, we're going to be looking, even if we can fish the tournament and you can get into some open water, you're looking at water temperatures in the 30s. And a lot of guys have never fished ever in water temperatures in the 30s, but I fished it quite a bit here in Missouri. And one of the things that will surprise you is even when that water temperature is 37, 38, 39 degrees, those fish are more active than what you think they are. You would think that, the water's almost freezing, that those fish being cold-blooded, that they would be really lethargic and not move around much like a snake or a turtle. But guys, it will surprise you how fast a fish can move in 30-some degree water. It is unbelievably impressive how fast they can move. So from that standpoint, the way that I approach this tournament, it's not necessarily as much that it has to do with the water temperature, but the water clarity where I'm fishing. One thing that I have found out about cold water bass fishing is like the techniques and the way that you approach your fishing has to do more with the water visibility rather than the water the water visibility rather than the water temperature. If you have water temperatures in the 30s and 40s, those fish will still chase lures like a crankbait and a jerkbait, an Alabama rig. And I think a lot of it is more mental with the anglers more than anything else, thinking that they're not going to. But you have to incorporate that, how you fish, in terms of what the water clarity is in relationship to that cold water. Now, I can tell you something right off the bat. When you're talking about water temperatures like we're going to have here at Lake of the Ozarks next week, you're not going to catch many fish out of stained water or out of off-colored water. That water temperature, in order to get those fish to bite in dirtier water, like water visibility of under 2 feet, you got to have that water temperature in the upper 40s for them to be, biting halfway decent at all. So given that, in this particular tournament, the first thing that I'm going to look for is clear water. And I don't normally like to do that. The way that I approach bass fishing, since I've got to strategize my technique around being a shallow water angler. I usually always look for the more off-colored water, but in this situation, I'm not going to. I've got to focus on the clear water simply because as extreme cold as this water is, I just don't think that bite's going to unfold a little bit. Now, also with this, the way that I'm thinking is your techniques are going to be narrowed down quite a bit. When you're talking about super cold water and looking for some clean water out there, there's not going to be a lot of diversity in techniques, especially since I don't use a cheater box. So I don't even own a jig head minnow, so that's not my deal. And I realize this tournament, it's going to be dominated by the jig head minnow and the cheater box. It just will. Now I look for there to be some outliers. I look for there to be like probably one or two guys in the top 10 that may have some off the wall. Probably maybe one. There's probably going to be like one guy in the top 10 that is not using the cheater box, but over that, there's probably going to be 98% of the people that make a check in this tournament are going to be using the cheater box and the jig head minnow at Lake of the Ozarks. Hopefully I'll be one of those 2% that are doing well that are not. So what I have to do is I've narrowed my bait selection down to jerkbaits, period. Like that's what I will be fishing in this tournament. But even though that I'm going to be focusing completely on a jerkbait, there's a ton of variables around that. I have got to figure out, and I've got to experiment, and I've got to learn what profile of jerkbait they want, what cadence, what retrieve, what color, angles of cast, the type of areas they're in. There's a lot of variables surrounding the fact that I'm just going to focus on a jerkbait in this tournament. I'm probably going to have like 4 rods on the deck. All of them probably are going to have jerkbaits on them in this particular tournament for me. And I'm going to try to find the fish in that situation. And I'm going to have a short practice. The tournament starts Thursday. My wife, Kim, she has a surgery scheduled on Monday, so I can't fish on Monday. So I'll probably just get a practice Tuesday and a half a day on Wednesday. So I'm going to have I always have a short practice anyway. But that's going to narrow it down for me because right off the bat, I'm going to be looking for cleaner water. I'm going to be fishing a jerkbait. I'm going to be trying to narrow down the specifics behind that jerkbait and really figure out the cadence that those fish want. So that's my approach for the tournament. It's like one of the things about tournament fishing, it's like it's all about decisions. And you go into a tournament putting yourself what you think is going to be the highest percentage of technique and area to do well in the tournament. And again, being about decisions, sometimes those decisions pay off and sometimes they don't. But this pre-tournament preparation is an important part of, setting yourself up for success. It's worked pretty good for me in the past, especially when I commit to it. And I feel pretty good in this tournament. I felt pretty confident. The only difference is the way that the way that I'm going to fish in this particular tournament is I have to be around a group of fish that are a little bit shallower than what the cheater box fishermen are going to fish. They're going to be fishing the middle of the coves and the middle of the bays with the live scope, and I'm going to be up on the bank a little bit more, fishing down to 10 feet. So a lot of it just depends on how big of a bass population are up in that water of less than 10 feet. And one of the important things to remember this time of year is that even though that water temperature is going to be ice cold, you still have the longer daylight hours. And it's been my experience in bass fishing that the length of the daylight hours affect the mood and the personality of the bass more than the water temperature. So even though we have super, super cold water, our daylights are getting longer and longer and longer. We're almost into March. So I'm looking for that ancient biological rhythm of those daylight hours getting longer. It's getting closer to the spawn. Fish are wanting to move up and stage in those pre-spawn areas. Hopefully there'll be enough fish up in that zone of less than 10 foot of water where I can come out of the tournament with a good finish here. So anyway, I'll keep you guys updated. Like I said, I'm probably not going to start practicing until Tuesday. Going to be a short practice. I'll let you guys know how that goes, how it unfolds, and hopefully by the end of the week, we can all learn something and have a good event up there at Lake of the Ozarks. So thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you later.